We are Word.
This is my voice, and my voice, it is still and always the Black People's Autonomous Republic of Juneteenth that is for us and by us, from Texas and made more beautiful for it, both strong and tender, both smoke of tequila and sour of lime and bite of salt. This voice is of legal drinking age, a recipe and the improvisation, Johnny Cash and Solange. My voice misses you a Texas kind of way. My voice is dreaming about you and isn't sure what that means. My voice would love to see you after the necessary 14-day quarantine. This is my voice.
This is my voice.
This is my voice. This voice is solar powered in a time when the outdoors are out of bounds. This voice is her own outdoors. She learned how to breathe from the sky, how to grow from the earth, and how to sing from the rain. This voice is organically grown and ethically sourced. If this voice could be bought, she'd be found in the aisle with the 5-spice powder in your local supermarket, but she cannot be bought in the same way you cannot buy the sky. This voice runs on renewable energy. This voice is her own source of energy. She is fertile soil in the spring, a full harvest in the fall. This voice is probably taking this metaphor too far, but she will not be uprooted. Oh shoot, I did it again. This is my voice.
This is my voice.
This is my voice, all dried up from the New Haven heat and the blue light from my computer screen. It reminds me of how my grandmother dried fish during Japanese summers, gutted and butterflied sardines and laid them out on a wooden rack in the smoldering sun. I think I know how they feel now. The warmth pulling salt water to the surface, glistening scales losing their luster, flesh tightening around brittle bone as they try and recall the memory of water. I don't know whether this is a reminder to stay hydrated between Zoom classes or a metaphor for burnout. Either way, drink more water. This is my voice.
This is my voice.
This is my voice. It sweats out every swallowed cry on humid summer nights to listen to the music of cicadas. My voice wishes this body could hold drums inside itself and shake the damp earth with percussive strikes, sending out seismic waves that soak the quiet with a real, audacious joy. These drums would sound like the heartbeats of everyone I've ever loved, accumulating over time till the sound becomes a grand, unbroken drone, not unlike the sound of cicadas. This is my voice.
This is my voice.
This is my voice. A haiku. I feel like the sky that fell into himself. Oh, the world beneath him. This is my voice.
This is my voice.
This is my voice. These days, this voice tests positive for the vibes, even though she's overwhelmed and underfunded. Or, in the words of a member of my quarantine circle, this voice feels like it is being sifted through the sieve of reality, but somehow still makes time to negotiate with the homies. Don't ask questions. I'm not really sure what any of this means either, but bullshitting is now a career these days, so this voice is growing bigger. Not sure if it's because of anxiety or empowerment. Now feels too big for most spaces and wonders where the kindness and humility went. This voice now sometimes the hurting type of cold, like rain to hail, only a couple degrees of separation between nurture and destruction. This voice is teetering, echo sounding constantly in this dark so she doesn't forget there are things to hold on to. This voice has learned that she loves just like she fears, heart gaping and guarded all at once, wanting nothing more to hide. But normally when you are running away from what you desire, you are really just running towards it. So let this voice learn stillness, let this voice learn quiet, let this voice learn smallness, but let it still keep testing positive for the vibes. This is my voice.
This is my voice.
This is my voice after 4 days in Mackinac Island, Michigan. It is Midwestern and leaking with lake water. This past week, I rode my bike for 8 miles and didn't think about anything other than the gravel beneath my wheels. There is no way to intellectualize this. Just my foot off my own neck for as long as it took for me to pedal myself along. I am learning to take breaks from myself, to give myself room to breathe, space to grow, time to heal. One day soon, I will abolish the capitalist in my head. But in the meantime, my voice is practicing mindfulness and mischief, kindness and anti-colonialism, radical forgiveness and take no shitness, and above all, it is practicing love. This is my voice.
This is my voice.
This is my voice. I only recently realized the Black Eyed Peas got back together. I had previously listened to the songs on their new album but didn't know the songs were made by them. Then I was like, whoa, it's them. Now I am wondering what happened to Fergie. I haven't heard of her since her performance of the national anthem at the 2018 NBA All-Star Game went viral for, as one YouTube comment says, sounding like she fell off a cactus. In my opinion, the performance was okay and possibly good. I'm also wondering why my neighbor has spent so much time this summer fishing in his front yard. That's right, fishing. There is no body of water in his front yard. It turns out that Fergie is busy living her best life, just like my neighbor, just like me observing them both. I am proud of them, proud of myself, proud of us all. I am proud, I am proud, I am proud. This is my voice.
This is my voice.
This is my voice. My voice wrote a poem once about the 101's hum against a smoggy sky, and yesterday my voice choked on the words as that sky filled with ash and orange light. These days my voice clings to the 101 like a lifeline, the trachea of a mother waiting for rainfall she sleeps. And this is what my voice says as she tears herself open on street corners and the mornings when she remembers to pray for the land to fall into the hands of those who will heal it. My voice will throw herself against the skin trapped under highways until the etchings on the pavement that say land back are no longer etchings, but in our handshakes, in our common speak, not a whisper, but a howl. Meanwhile, my voice freezes water bottles and gorges itself on half-baked poetry, waiting for a beginning that perhaps will never come. Except when there is no smoggy sky to write love poems to anymore, and my voice will love this land as it is in the meantime, and as it should be, as it will be. This is my voice.
This is my voice.
This is my voice. My voice used to feel like it only had value in speaking when it had subtle things to say. The way talking about fruits or black earth makes people think you came from somewhere more beautiful than where you are, but my voice has realized that trying to appease an orange-colored diaspora is trying to vocalize too many things at once. My voice hasn't uttered anything beautiful in months, but listen. My voice has been admiring the life curling around her, a tree growing from an avocado pit she didn't expect to bloom for shit, and yes, my voice ain't afraid to say bloom and shit in the same sentence anymore. My voice is starting to learn to be so unafraid of the parts of herself she has been told are so conflicting. Call this voice ugly. Call this voice desiccated. Call this voice unpoetic. This is my voice.
This is my voice.
This is my voice. Twice this summer my voice witnessed a crow trying to eat an entire rock by itself. Yes, a rock. No, not a pebble. A rock, bigger than its beak. My voice admires that energy. How simple it must be to struggle forward on willpower alone. No critical thinking skills in sight, just unbroken rage and the belief that you can chew through stone without any teeth. My voice thinks maybe this is what it means to be in a wasteland, to bite at the ground when it does not give you enough time to grieve what it forced you to bury, to fill your mouth up with dust, hoping that the earth will remember what it was to nourish you. Even if all you got are your gums, even if your jaw breaks in the first bout, aren't debris just collateral damage anyway? Maybe my voice will push forward and shatter every part of itself trying and call that a victory anyway. Maybe my voice will learn how to split rock with nothing but the most stubborn kind of hunger. Either way, I am still here. My voice is still here, even if it's just in pieces. This is my voice.
This is my voice.
We are Word.
Hey, everybody. My name is Cassidy, and I'm super excited to welcome you guys to Word's first and hopefully only virtual back to school show. Tonight we have like a great lineup for you guys, and we just want to like kind of come out of the summer steaming. We've been cooking up new poems as well as polishing old ones. And we're really excited to help start the Yale community off this school year right, even despite everything happening in the world right now. So that being said, I'm super excited to get started with the show. And I just want to share a few things with everyone before we get into these poems. So first, let's talk a little bit about words. Let's get to know each other, okay? So I just want to give you guys our word statement. This was written by our members Elena and Sydney a few years ago, and we've been just like rocking with it for ever since because it's a great statement. It really sums up like who we are. In the beginning was the word. The origins of spoken word poetry are the origins of language itself. Before there was directed studies or Walt Whitman or even books, there were oral traditions of poems handed down generation after generation. Poems were how we kept our people alive. And in honor of that, it's necessary that we begin this event by lending our attention to the Black legacies of jazz, blues, and the time-tested oral tradition of storytelling that gave rise to what we call spoken word. And as a resident group of the AFAM House, it's important that we acknowledge that history and lineage as what brings our voices to you guys today. So I think that really helps to sum up that word is about uplifting voices as well as honoring Black legacies and traditions that allowed us the platform of spoken word to do so. So in that same vein, I just want to ask before the show starts, it's not commissioned at all, but I would like you guys just invite people to please donate to the origin in the description box below, demanding justice for Jacob Blake. And also please check out the article that our alum Ashia made as well for more information. So that being said, let me tell you a little bit more about Word in the way that I know it and that everyone else in our group knows it. Word is an awesome family. We have 3 showcase shows a year, including this one. And we also release a chapbook a year, which should be coming out like this upcoming week. So keep your eyes peeled. Basically, we're an amazing space where poets in the Yale community get to come together. I'm sorry, guys. I'm also looking at like our Zoom chat and they're like roasting me right now, but it's fine. Yeah, Word is just like an amazing space where we come together to be better as writers, as poets, and as people, while exchanging memes and like debating about which song on Blonde is the best at the same time. So yeah, we really hope that our community kind of like is able to uplift you guys in this time. And if you like what you see tonight, please be sure to pull up to our back to school poetry workshop tomorrow. You know, we're gonna share some of the tips, share some of the tea on how to like write great poems. And also please audition for Words. Our auditions will be open up until September 18th. So yeah, like you can check out information for all of those items on our Facebook page and also on our website, word@yale.com. That was a mouthful. Now it's time to get into some of this poetry, y'all. Period. Okay, so I just want to get into like some slam etiquette. Everything's different because we're on Zoom right now, but I would say the best way that you can engage with slam in a virtual format is honestly by using the chat box on YouTube Live. That means if you just want to like write out snaps, or if you want to have like an arsenal of like beautiful emojis to drop down in the chat, we appreciate that. Not to make a competition of it, but I will be quoting some of the coolest like comments throughout the poems, in between people's poems. So please, like, don't hold back. If you want to comment snaps, if you want to comment all of that, I would greatly appreciate it. So just to get things started, I want to tell you guys a little bit about our first poet on the lineup tonight. We have someone who is New York's most Chicagoan denizen, Junior, who is a master of making delicious vegan food in like under 5 minutes. Literally, we're in a meeting like earlier this week, and homegirl like doused some tofu and kimchi and soy sauce and said it was a masterpiece. So y'all virtually give it up for Christina.
I imagine my grandmother's kisses taste like postage stamps. The acid of paper and bitter of rubber, both blood and body of tree and family tree, it leaves her lips and fingers sticky, but the promise of children returned. Those children that burn with hatred and ambition and desire. If my grandmother were a home then, she would be left burning, caving in one beam at a time like Kyoto Station did in 1950 and Chicago did just a century earlier. My family knows all too well that Cyprus burns better than most, that this planet is a flammable one, that wood burning always ends in a rebirth in concrete like how the forest evolves after wildfire, a history rewritten and a lesson learned. Who knew that there were so many Japanese words for burning? Who knew that there were so many ways to burn? I imagine that if she could, my grandmother would set her family home ablaze for what is an empty nest but firewood. And I've watched as my grandmother's skeleton makes itself known one fragment at a time, like an unearthing of bones after the cremation, a clavicle for my mother, a rib for my uncle, a vertebra for me. So ask me again what diaspora means. My diaspora is a scattering of bone. My diaspora is a family tree uprooted, burned, burning. My grandmother writes her letters as if she could walk the scar of my mother's C-section like a bridge across the sea, as if she could walk across the sea. And I know well that mammals never forget their young, but my grandmother is still searching. She addresses her letters to a burning woman fresh off the boat, but so far away from water. So I write, "Dear grandmother, when you sent your daughter to English lessons because you could not make those foreign syllables your own, did you know that she would be buried in American soil? That your granddaughter and great-granddaughters would grow from it too, that a Japanese household could spring from American concrete? Do you fail as a mother if your children refuse to stay? What's staying when you'd rather let go, when a migrant is a refugee in everything but name?" So we turn our heads to whatever mothers us, making surrogate out of motherland, our mouths open for the taste of our own name. And my head wobbles to and fro, east and west, until it comes crashing down with the sputter and crackle of flame hitting water and becomes but ocean foam in the great Pacific. I imagine my grandmother sleeps in a halo of unfinished letters, crumpled. It grows as she forgets my mother's name, stroke by stroke, year by year, as her memory turns to ash. She dreams of repairing cypress bridges, picking up driftwood from the ocean and placing it under her feet. With each step she takes, she rebuilds the bridges her children burned. While my mother and I watch, our eyes watering not because of the sadness, but because of the smoke. Burning, we know, is healing too.
Y'all. Y'all. Oh my God. Bro, when she said, "What's staying when you rather let go?" I needed to get a grip after that line. Oh my God. That was so amazing. Thank you so much, Christina. Some of the cool comments we got was pre-med poet, queen of vegan, not even queen of veganism. Okay, we gonna move right along. Up next on the line, we have Hopper's finest, a drip legend. First time I met Elena, one of the main things I was remarking was like how insane her sock game was and her winter coat game. That New Haven weather could never. And also a queen of making word puns and one of Word's co-creative directors this year. So you guys give it up for Elena.
The seasons change. Overhead, a flock of geese shifts parallel to the winds, and I wonder, which direction does a migratory bird consider home? The land they seek, or the land left behind? Or perhaps they claim only the sky as their home, that ethereal plane, not where to move, but the moving, not where they sleep, but where they are most awake, an endless dance with gravity, a war impossible to win, where the only objective is to keep moving. They are so familiar with the feeling of exodus. Perhaps it is because they have always had so many things to flee. Perhaps they take refuge in the sky not as a form of surrender, but because freedom is a kind of control. They remember when miners used to take canaries, sensitive to carbon monoxide, into coal mines, so when the birds succumbed to illness, the miners would know to leave. Modern problems require modern sacrifices. It was a noble cause, they said. Your death was our salvation. You, heavenly messengers, deliver messages without your own deliverance. On the 40th day of the flood, Noah sent out a raven and a dove to find dry land. Only he who has suffered knows best the conditions for survival. Only she whose home is ever changing can make a home anywhere. Migration is a survival instinct for a reason. The call duck is named as such because hunters used its distinctive call to lure wild ducks into their traps. A wild bird hears his sister screaming and comes flying. What he doesn't know is her screams are not a cry for help, but a warning. Do not rescue me, save yourself. All survival requires sacrifice. It is too late for me, but you can still be spared. Do not look back at the people you have left behind. Look ahead and learn to be content with the sky. Flight is a survival instinct for a reason. It is a legacy of sacrifice encoded in every cell of our bodies, every forgotten ancestor. Each loss comes with a mileage. Nomads become a promised land unto themselves. And if we do not make it, I hope the birds survive us. Because when the earth is covered in water once more, they are the ones who will find a place to land.
Period. You guys can't hear me snapping, but it's happening. Thank you so much for that poem, Elena. That was beautiful. Let's see some of the best comments here. Background game astounding. Called Elena rant because he be testing. Thank you so much for that, Alma. We needed that. Yes, we're starting off on a great note, and we're gonna keep that steam pump. Why am I making like industrialization references? It's fine. We're gonna keep it rolling, guys. Up next on the line, we have. Let me go with the fun facts first. Fun fact: we are currently taking a class together. And because this topic was like literally her, like she's working on this for her senior thesis. She like literally taught the class. Like we was learning about Césaire, we was learning about Martinique. Thank you so much. She's like big brain energy in one word. Also is a master of winning reading challenges, for which the prize is, you guessed it, more books. So yeah. We're just gonna go ahead and introduce Elena and give a short trigger warning for police violence. So if you just wanna like, you can't like leave the room, but like if you wanna like go into a different tab for a second, go ahead and do that. And yeah, give it up for Elena.
It's true, I am in fact literate in multiple languages. Swallow me whole, O beast of the southern radar, patron of the disaster zone of the unsurvivable storm surge, O surveiller of our anxieties, of a drowning foretold. Here we are in another August of hot darkness, another storm ravaging the Black Shoals, and I'm told the map isn't even accurate anymore. The coastline has eroded so much that Louisiana is no longer a boot shape. Our shores more saltwater than Homestead, and I doom scroll through Twitter like it's all new. Perhaps it is. My lungs were declared a disaster zone long ago. My people have wandered and were lost, refugees in their own vacant country, their homes named uninhabitable long before the storm even hit. I have lived 15 years flinching at the slightest crack of thunder, but it is August. 3 months into a national uprising, 400 plus years into a people's apocalypse, 20 days after a Black man was shot in the back 7 times in Wisconsin, and I'm tired of telling people that these are natural disasters. 3 years ago, when the last storm hit, I might have told you that every 500 years someone bears the sins of a people, but in the years since my hands first began to shake, I learned who and what and where is responsible, and as the storm spins on the radar, I watch colonization unfold in real time. Man-made climate change spins whiteness into stacks of white cumulonimbus. As the eye of the storm intensifies with each degree stacked in the gulf, each tick moves upward on the stock exchange. Tell me, someone didn't dream up this deluge, this clearing of land uninhabitable, contaminated. Tell me who has the right to remain. Tell me without flinching that Black life matters. Truth be told, The storm isn't even the half of it. Ain't nothing new but our lands declared uninhabitable, cleared for industrial use, for flume and flare, for fire and brimstone. This place, the only one where we are allowed to reside. Refineries, petrochemical infestations have taken hold in our homelands, and in the days before natural disaster, they unleash one that is man-made all on their own. Here, our bodies marked in yellow tape, uninhabitable, flooding the lungs of our communities with the smoke from their stacks. Oh, Our Lady of Perpetual Fever Dreams, our asphalt sovereign, mother of ozone action days and asthmatic breath, behold how the men have partitioned our city, have sliced and diced until all that is left is to worry and wait. We were never meant to survive in the belly of the beast. Ain't that some shit? Ain't that something holy in all this mudbound? Ain't that some black life? For still, I sit here loving you, blessed city of perpetual moisture. We who have kept on keeping on, pressing toward the mark. Oh, my beloved kingdom. We brought here to these black shoals long before the storms came. We who will keep the land long after our captors are gone.
Oh my God. Hold up. I'm trying to read some of these comments. Only Elena could pull off this perpetual moisture line. That is true. That was amazing. I have to keep it 100 though. Like that line about white cumulonimbus clouds got me wanting to go outside and like say Black Power to the clouds and shit. Like Black Lives Matter, nigga. But yeah, we're gonna move right along, guys. The next person we have up on our list is a TV legend, an amazing writer, a super talented 80s attire dresser when we had our theme for the spring show. This man's fit like blew the rest of us out of the water, and we are so blessed to have Oscar as our president for the club this year. So everybody give it up for Oscar.
The valley knows a long and greedy summer, here where the palm trees fold over and under each other, making knots that hold the cracked, dry earth together. Here where I've pruned mesquite tree branches off my eyelids. Here where I flecked off sticky orange flesh and planted citrus kisses. Here where monarch butterflies pass through when autumn arrives, their wings a glowing marmalade, the closest we'll ever get to fireflies. Somehow, this place has a mythology about it now, and yet all the same, the memory lathers its teeth with spit and sharpens its gaze with kitchen knives, ready to unfurl divine retribution, for our families young hold the hubris of Achilles and the impending tragedy all in the same breath. We, children of our parents as callous, nurture our wounds without care for the bleeding bodies of our forebears, incapable of understanding how our diaspora split them down the middle, yet we come away only with flesh wounds. Our neglect coalesces into sterile hospital tiles, framing the pathways that hold up our collapsing worlds. It is denial in the face of calamity, disappointment at the last chance, guilt turned viper vine wrapped around our bones, holding us right in place while a budding trauma blooms red and angry. It burrows inside where the world has cut us, becomes the ghosts of our childhood, of her childhood. And I suppose grief is the constant retching of a bottomless history. I kindle my synapses into flight, hoping I'll find something I once knew, looking for her in every photograph, every rosary, every crucifix. It is why I have always been a materialist, always wearing the people I love on my wrist, but it's too cold here now to wear anything but long sleeves, and so I muffle her like before. I want to beg with the desperation and conceit of prayer, something like stay, 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 querida. But my body retches, names a loneliness none of us are brave enough yet to understand, says, just go. We keep her candle on the mantelpiece. Every drop of expiring wax, a prayer bound by our hands, this holding, which is the only thing keeping us from breaking. Sometimes I recall the fans off and the blinds open, my body bathed in warm valley light, her footsteps resounding in the hallway of a home we can't talk about anymore. And sometimes I indulge in a return. God, hallowed be thy name, hallowed be thy children. They know not what they do.
Dang, I might have to go back to church. I'm not gonna lie, because that just gave me the Holy Spirit at the end there. Let's look at some of these comments. Okay, so we have curtains are as fire as this poem. Let's remark the curtains in the background. That's very fashionable of you, Oscar. Thank you for blessing us those curtains. Wish I could save the feeling of hearing this poem for the first time for later, like leftovers. I felt that I'm gonna end right there. All right, thank you so much for that beautiful poem, Oscar. And we're gonna keep right on going with this next poet, who is another drip legend. All we got in word is drip legend. And also, fun fact about this person, just the other day, they sent out a Spy Kids 2 clip to their professor by accident, to which the professor replied, "Yes, I do indeed see the relation to Frederick Douglass. Thank you." So that about sums up how this poet's week has been going, but hopefully you will quite enjoy this poem. A quick trigger warning for alcoholism, so if you need to take space, go ahead and do that. But otherwise, please welcome Kieran to the stage.
Blackout, also known as sweat made luminous with the shine of Bud Light, also known as the fireball in my stomach holds me warmer than the one in the sky, also known as the absence is always louder than the shotgun that makes it. Blackout, kisses me for the first time on parched 17-year-old lips, holds my hips and dances with me all night but doesn't stick around until morning, dares me to call my brother so he can come carry me home, begs me to find a love that can fill me like the dark. Blackout, also known as my brother walks into a bar, and this is either the beginning of a joke or the beginning of a eulogy, but I've only written the latter because you never know which blackout will be the last one before the lights go out and everything goes black, and you have to prepare for a blackout just like you prepare for a storm. Also known as the eye of this hurricane is blind. Stock up on flashlights and water and apologies, sit in the bathtub and cradle your love in your arms. Tell him that candles will keep the sky from crumbling. Don't let his body flood. Don't let the house flood. Don't let any more of that bitter in. Don't let it poison the well. Get ready for what you will lose in the wreckage. Memories and the homes you built together and the ability to tell the difference between first breath and death rattle. Blackout. Ask me why I still haven't picked up the phone. Why I still haven't told him I love him since that first time he drank enough beer to make the color in his veins run from bright red to golden, like he had learned how to chase the sun down, distill its shine into spirits, and swallow 16 bottles worth before morning. Blackout says, when he was lying in a hospital bed, spitting up the night spoils the way the horizon spits up the sky, all the doctors gathered around him thought they were watching the dawn. Blackout asks, do you remember the last time you watched the dawn? Do you remember the last time you weren't afraid of the dawn arising like a stillborn rage, descending onto the sky like a burial? How long has the morning tasted like the gasp that pulls you back from nightmare? When was the last time you slept? When was the last time you were still? Blackout, also known as I have these dreams that I don't remember. I have these dreams where all I can remember of my brother is an aftermath. where blackout turns black boy into black death, and out of all the hands trying to unmake him, his are the ones that curl around a bottle and break his body with a shot. Blackout, not the gun, but the silencer, the blink that makes the bullet go down easier, the sugar that keeps the medicine down, the murder at the margins, the death around the edges. Blackout says, I'm sorry. Blackout says, please don't leave me here. Blackout says, what is it you want so much to remember? Blackout says, good night.
Bruh, that's how you end the poem right there. Oh my god. Y'all, I have this thing where like I either like punch someone near me or dance, but I'm very excited. And I was just in the Zoom call, like like I could not control the excitement from these bars, y'all. Thank you so much, Kieran, for that poem. Like we were all just standing in the Zoom call. So let's see. Moving on to this next poet. A few things about this poet. She can rock a headscarf like no other. Very wholesome, artistic queen, and our embroidering, like our household embroidering queen here at Word. And I will talk more about why I said embroidering and not embroidering later on. But everyone, for the time being, give a virtual snap, clap it up for Elena.
One. This is how the story of us begins. My father and I are driving down the dry roads of our homelands, making our way around dirt and stones, headed towards the melon groves. The fields which will always be thirsting, I think, the lack of rain in the winter, cow dung, the shattered bodies of Coke bottles and mutts choking on avocado pits. My professor tells me during workshop that I cannot write this, that I cannot write a poem about Guatemala without it sounding like a set. The images remind her of sound stages. Every time I mention cacti or the river or the small birds that align themselves on power lines above our town, the words act as props to remind the reader that here is not the homeland of which I write. 2. This set she spoke of, it is my pueblo. It is the memory of the streets in my abuelita's neighborhood covered in roses, the houses covered in barbed wire, the faces of people I have not seen since 2008. They are memories which my mind has made interchangeable parts of a landscape I insert myself into over and over. It is the house where my uncle died. It is the town in which he once lived. It is the memory of us I have been trying to write for years. The one in which we are sitting on the balcony of his house. Platform of red brick that hovers above the field where Pueblo kids play soccer early in the morning. I woke up to the sound of trumpets in the distance, the sputtering of car engines, the smell of cigars coming from the men inside of them. I remember sleeping so soundly I thought the night had bled into the day by only a few hours. I slept next to Mama and mis primos in the room that used to be tíos while warm sun cast onto our bodies. And maybe this is part of the set she's talking about. The sun and moon being exchanged so quickly for one another. All of us together in a moment of peace. 3. Why does this feel fake? I don't know why I can't write Guatemala the way I really want to. These words sound simplified to me. A poem in which I attempt to write something tangible of the world, write my town in English, write my country as digestible for. Is this what she means? To write my hometown without everything that the reader cannot recognize as theirs. The smell of burning meat and rotting fruits and cow dung and the lack of rain in the winter and zapote and melon groves and yes, mutts choking on avocado pits and frijoles and champurradas and small birds that watch us from the branches of a ceiba tree. I remember the grackles perched like this at Theo's funeral, rocking back and forth and loosening its purple buds into our hair. They were excited by the noise and the people. Or maybe the small bags of water we ripped open with our teeth, I was jealous of them. How they could look above my father and all the other men holding the casket up with their palms into the crowd of women reaching for Theo's neck to place pennies and gold chains. My mother and I followed behind with bouquets of corn and lilies, and this is the one image I can't remember clearly. I wasn't allowed to see his face. 5. I remember afterwards, sitting on the balcony of Theo's house with my father, looking out into an empty field. He asked me if I knew why we had come here. I asked him why, after so long, we had come back to a place I had only known as a home during my childhood. What I should have asked is how to forget. What I should have asked is how to piece together the memories of a town I always misremember. All the happenings of our family and those subtle deaths of us I have been told I have no business bringing up. What I should have asked is how to write a poem that does not start and end with everything I have ever known. A cycle of corn and mangoes and slipping into Spanish every other word. And this is how the story of us will end. Driving through an Aboriginal landscape, going from nowhere to nowhere.
Elena, I think I speak for everyone in the chat when I say that we would all collectively throw hands with your English teacher, bro. We have some people saying white poetry professors decimated. That was Kinsale, actually. Petitioning Yale for you to teach that poetry course. I would sign that petition as well. And my personal favorite that actually came from our Zoom chat, mentally I'm in a world that built built by Elena's imagery. Thank you so much. That was a beautiful piece. And up next, we have a master of wearing native drip and fighting off the Duolingo owl, the founder of Changing Women's Collective. Sense of humor right now is currently only sustained by Clayton saying pee-poo, pee-poo, and surviving on a diet of buttered pasta. Give it up for Kinsale, y'all.
Grievances and Complaints was a section from the Declaration of Independence where the colonists listed their former problems with the British government, specifically King George. Grievance 27, the very last complaint, states, "He has excited domestic insurrections against us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. This is the only time natives are mentioned in the Declaration. I, a Navajo woman, dream of writing a complaint for every broken treaty. This poem would never end, so instead I write one for every sacred mountain my sisters come from, every so-called frontier they named a battleground for our missing women. 1. A world in which I know the war that is my body, in which domestic insurrections dissolve into history. Instead, I count the hours I have lived without a strange man's hand on the small of my back, ushering me from my friends. 1, 2. In Albuquerque, a 14-year-old girl has gone missing and her family is told to file a complaint with an office already overrun with the faces of missing sisters. These days, the hurt is merciless, comes in waves, and the medicine can only do so much. We turn to each other. Building shelter from our bones, we buckle from the weight and emerge every morning from another dark belly. Native women face violence at more than 10 times the national average, and yet we are the red face on your TV, the silent women with rolling hips. In the office, the family is shoved a document and a pen. What is the name of the missing person? Gender. Is she an inhabitant of this frontier? Age, sex. The number of Native women that will be assaulted in their lifetime is 1 in 3. I have known destruction, merciless, but I have also known sand, pressed flat from migration, The ways our mother moved over mountains with their furious racing hearts. If we can make gods out of wood, imagine what we can do with our bodies, create declarations of war as we watch rusted cop cars hightail it out of our end of town. The hardest thing in the world is learning to unfurl yourself from the grip of trauma, even harder when you're haunted by the ghosts of those who are still with you. We are flightless, and yet we stay suspended in midair. Burn offering, so they can't take what we cannot give anymore. For there is no resolution, no revolution yet that can be doused by legal documents as warfare. All I have to give is the skin off my palms. I offer up my tears until I fill myself with tides, pulled by lost sisters doused in moonlight. When I lived in my mother's fossil, I knew what it was to have a hummingbird heart, a face of my own. I wonder if the memory is enough to pull these women back to me in orbit. I would give anything, I say, to a photo with eyes like my sister's. I would give anything. I would give anything.
Someone commented literal chills, and I can second that. Queen of Destroying King George. Fact. I'm screaming. Someone just texted me. They never gonna let Cass MC again. Y'all are foul. Y'all are foul, but it's fine. Thank you so much, Kinsale. That poem was amazing. And up next, I'm super excited for this next poet, you guys. This is our biggest course goal. I say it like that because I wrote it with a GORL, course goal. She actually recently moved off campus and has been handling that hectic sweetmate life with the creation of something called a chaos clock. And she is also the poet I talked to you about who invented the word embroidery. Please ask her about both of these things. Before we get into her poem, however, I just want to say a small piece that actually relates to her poem. So yeah, this is a poem by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you about mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscape, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. Give it up for Lizzy, guys.
I don't know how to be good. I do not know how to move across the landscapes without making you hurt. I do not know how to be gentle or delicate or kind to my body. I do not know if the fact that I have grown to fit the silver frame named trauma, that it will make a difference to my shape if you unbend this past from my skin and think I can grow out of it. How do you grow out of something you've been planted in? My memories are not malleable. They are not something you can wish away, and I am not asking you to. I need you to listen to me, that you do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees 100 miles through this desert, through this body scorched and scared and sucked dry. You do not have to be good. I won't let you be good. I think you are too good to be good to me. This body hasn't seen water in so long, I worry. It will think you thunder instead of rain, or worse, you will pour like runoff because I am too coarse for the soaking, and what a pity that you, clear pebble of rain, should fall like stone against the sand. You do not have to be good. I will not let you be good. I am so sorry about hurting you in all the ways that I am trying not to hurt you, and I will always be here to listen to your despair, yours, but don't ask about mine. I am so tired of operating in a world that requires language to legitimize things because I have no language left for this. How do you tell someone that their love might be a ghost of his, that there will always be three people in this bed, that when the flash hits cornea, hits you, hits me, hits straight, hits hard, and the light shows a screen door slamming and a hand holding back my hair, and the wind from 10 years ago is still rattling around in my chest, I just might start screaming heat lightning in this desert downpour. I won't mean to blindside you with panic. I am so scared of causing that hurt, but I am also so tired of piecing together a story in which I am always voiceless, so don't ask. You cannot imagine how much energy it takes to make your resurrections painless for the other person. And I fear a story like mine will never mean rest for you. People always say I am kind and generous, but do not mistake being kind to others as being kind to yourself. I worry that in the self-induced drought, if you pull your head up out of the sand, you will realize that you flying to me will never be flying home. I think I do not know how to be good. I think I need you to fly away, if just for now, so that I can learn how to walk through my own body repenting, sing love like rain into this body, move through these memories like I am dancing in a rainstorm, and soak myself in a truth in the gentlest way possible. I think I need to figure out what it means to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. My body feels animal, but it has never felt soft. And I do not yet know all of what it loves, but I think the first thing should be itself. I think the world needs to move on. And you need to move over prairies and forests, over mountains and rivers, you wild goose deserving of rest, and I need to learn how to be good. And if one day, someday brilliant and clear and blue, you find me again, you will still find the silver encasing called trauma like bullet shell around me, and I will look no different. I shouldn't need to look different. But I will ask you to tell me about your despair, yours. And this time, I will tell you about mine.
Yo, somebody commented, the soft animal of my body loves Lizzy, and I could not agree more. Also, Elena said, giving us intertextuality, and I'm just so appreciative of how often words are coined in words, quite honestly. I'm not gonna lie though, Lizzy, I'm about to like start citing your poem, like to enable myself. Like I'm gonna like, you know, hit my friends out of excitement and be like, sorry, I do not have to be good. But you know, it's fine. Hopefully this next poet has more positive messages. It takes no takeaways other than enabling yourself. Don't follow my footsteps. All right, this next poet has a cult following of Alma appreciators on Twitter. Also, she is a serial bullier, so I don't know how those things go together. Actually, to quote one of her biggest admirers, whose name I will leave anonymous, I only love my bed and my Alma. I'm sorry. Give it up for your next poet, Alma.
I want to tell the one about unapologies. about living outside of my racing thoughts, about being someone uncolored underneath my skin. I want to tell the one where I untether myself from the tangled mass of my own body, escape the tempest churning beneath my chest, where I imagine something greater than survival. I used to think my dreams were scenes from parallel universes. Maybe somewhere there exists a version of me that feels something other than slow simmering anger in my bones, that ponders things less daunting than my own existence. What does it mean that these days my dreams look like found footage from the nightly news? Somewhere in another universe, I lie askew atop the pavement of a street in whatever they call this country there. White men stand above me in suits, the tongues of their loafers lapping at my blood. They are reminding me not to be so angry, not to be so loud, not to make this about race in the distance. Someone signals that the cameras are live, and my story is developing. It is breaking news. It will happen again. And I'm watching them weave my posthumous script. I'm wondering what picture of me they will use on the news. Before I can cry out, they are shoveling dirt into my open mouth. I wake up gasping for air. There have been so many Black people smothered in the fabric of that I wonder how the rest of us still breathe, still wake up in the morning, still scroll past 101 variations on our own demise, 1,000 ways a Black body can be split open at its seams and scarecrow patched together again under studio lights. Our narrative has been watered down, chewed and spit out like stale gum into the mouths of the American public, tailored to the taste of media consumption, reformulated for viewing pleasure. They will tell us that this is much better than before, when we had nothing to chew on at all. But there's not enough video evidence in the world to sate the gnashing of this nation's teeth. Somewhere off screen, there is a Black body covered in bite marks. Maybe this is a story about insanity, about continuing to rise when this nation's jaws ache to devour us again. I wonder how long we can wade through flesh without drowning where we stand. I want to tell the one where I can stop repeating myself, my voice unhoarse, unweighted by retelling. I wish I could stop looking over my shoulder for long enough to find the words.
Dang. Yeah, I can't really say anything funny about that, y'all. Someone commented, "We will follow you anywhere, Alma," and I agree. Let's see. Up next, we have up next we have a poet who is a master of terrible accents, and is notorious for saying "Hello, governor." This poet is Word's resident Branford baddie, and in elementary school was really good at the cha-cha slide. When asked about this, Forrest responded, "I can move my legs very quickly during that one part where you have to move your leg." Oh yeah, hands on your knees, hands on your knees. Y'all, thank you so much for listening to that, and give it up for Forrest.
Regarding another nightmare about Mitch McConnell. Nothing has only one beginning, and this is no different. But I know at least one of the beginnings is Mitch McConnell, who keeps visiting me in my sleep, who keeps visiting me in the news which, when not talking about him, is moving from the depths of one city to the depths of another, each movement a sort of loss. Though, no, the cities are not gone, though really they are. I am trying to remember the cities, their people, though this is impossible. A mind cannot hold bodies, but only the words that fill them, though these really are the bodies. Memory is reality. And despite this, or maybe because of this, obituaries continue to haunt me, though their formulaic reassemblages of words should really be a comfort, though comfort is just an absence of emotion, an absence covered in enough words to masquerade as a presence. Although, even though, although, even though this is not new. The devaluation of the excess, the excessive, the obituary section 10 pages thick, the bodies. Maybe this is what Mitch McConnell means when he speaks of original sin. Though, really it is sins. Sins, sharpened skies drawing lines of blood across the land. Smiling scars made fresh wounds. A new sin every time the old sin is not named. A new sin every time the old sin is let to cut, to carve, to plunge itself through the sinew of a nation. Cold butcher sin, tearful apologist sin, sin of ignorance, sin of simple stories, silent sin. In the nightmare, Mitch McConnell is also my high school theater teacher. He is prancing around the auditorium of my mind, issuing commands. His voice is not raised because it does not need to be. It is everywhere. Although, even though, sin.
Y'all, it's getting a little chilly in here. And I guarantee it's above 70 degrees in Philadelphia. So that's all forest. That's all forest right there, y'all. In the chat, we have no ifs and buts or those. Forest went off, giving us dream divination. Oops, this sends to great things. I'm sorry, I don't know if these make sense to y'all. We weird up in word, but it's fine. Thank you so much for that poem, Forrest. Truly like one of my favorite pieces by you. And I guess just to pass, we're gonna do a little switcheroo here, and I'm gonna actually pass the mic to Alma to introduce the next poet.
All right, well, our next poet is my favorite Philly John. She just got a new camera and would love to talk about it. Please ask her about it so she can stop talking to me about it and I can finally be free. Also, she wanted to use her quote to say that today is Natasha's birthday. So happy birthday to Natasha. And here we have our next wonderful poet, Cassidy.
Blue is my favorite color. It used to be pink, then purple, but all they could ever be were strokes of the same palette. When I was a 7-year age canvas sprawled out on my brother's floor, gaping at the scattered remains of whatever cold city we built in a month, and our mother destroyed in a day, I learned her face to be a dark thing paled by the salt water piling at the brims of my eyelids, and named destruction after her through reddening cheeks when my mother was done breaking the parts of me I'd built myself. I'd peel her shadow from the blue wall paint with my gaze until going outside and watching clouds pass and waiting for the sky to peel and chip like nail polish in its aftermath. My mother taught me how to make destruction pretty enough to carry its picture around in my purse. The walls of my brother's childhood room taught us that blue and sad are all the limbs of the art we make, that I belong to a family of artists who draw in watercolor and smother themselves in the canvas. I don't speak to distant relatives at family gatherings who call themselves blood without blue veins crisscrossing their necks to show that they too have learned to breathe beneath water. My family knows that only water has enough pressure to keep a hot thing intact. This is why we name hurricanes after our mothers, while my grandmother waits until we've left her drowning to cry. My grandmother's favorite colors are peach, lilac, lavender. She smiles and her gums reek of all the darlings she killed, doodling in her phone book and never calling out for help. She taught me the best artists are those of omission. And my brother's favorite color is red. It took me 4 years to stop hating him enough to remember. Yesterday, I broke the silence between us to beckon him back into the world. I asked him, why not leave the basement? Why not learn to swim out of his father's footprint and his mother's shadows? And his words shut all the lights off again. He said sometimes he doesn't feel good in himself. Sometimes he doesn't want to go out and just wants to stay in the dark. My brother taught me how to stop glaring at a painting long enough to realize when the artist is hurting. And I think we're all hurting in some way. I do not know my mother's favorite color. I know it is not of the rainbow, else she wouldn't caution me of what a sin it is to love the way I do. I know it changes with the moon, but does not repent with tides, else my sister's eye would never have been colored in with charcoal and smeared in with salt water. My mother would end her days in rain and turn her own tears to smoke. My mother has taught me that all art is running from itself. Family taught me that art is nothing more than nightmares committed to a canvas. In my family, we all love different colors, but blue loves my family without permission or care, like water loves pressure and pressure to crush and crush to crumble, like Hurricane Mommy to a family of Legos with blue veins that are stubborn and a motley of bruises painted with all our favorite colors. Sorry, it's really weird because like I had to finish my poem and then I had to introduce the next person. Like, all right, y'all. Sorry, okay. So up next, we have one of my beloved TC fathers. Also, I hope there's some TC children out in the chat right now because I invited like some TC children and I'm like, the person who's going next, that's your CC father, y'all. That's your CC grandfather. In fact, also this person has like amazing taste because he's a TD expatriate and he immigrated to Silliman College, which is the best. King of Insomnia, also, and finessing Daddy Yale out of the sweet coin. So y'all give it up for Logan.
Wow, what an intro. And I'm still recovering from Cassidy's poem, but on our last day here, we order tropical smoothies, walk around gulping them until our teeth freeze into chipped ice in our mouths. Joy tastes better all at once, when it is constantly reminding you of its presence, when it's mixed with something familiar. So we wheeze out love songs, sing and set them to trap beats, let the streets swell with the sound of triumph gilded by our laughter, laughter being something precious enough to hold gentle between your teeth and a breath and a morning. Morning being a skyward burial of all the beauty you would have noticed the next day, and the next, and the next. I would never bury a precious part of myself in silence, an earth that does not know how to hold it without crushing. And that is why we are singing up and down Broadway like something free and black and reckless. I think this is joy I cannot savor any longer without breaking it. I think it may now have to live as an echo, as a patchwork memory, as a hook and a bomb flow until we can again fill the sidewalks with verse and walk only where the sun shines warm enough for us to bask in. In New Haven, I built my home from people, and they made a city into more than just a place to live. I think theirs is the kind of love that pulses from Bluetooth speakers nestled in backpacks, hears noise complaints and raises the volume, lives in the summits and smoothness of an Ari Lennox song, can sing truth and pain and glory all in one note. Something you can hear the smile in just by listening. Spills runny and sweet from styrofoam cups until it is threaded into all the unbroken beauty of this day and the next and the next. I'm not demanding to have it all back. I would just like to sing with you again. To build us a new home. To write us a new poem. And cry out, carefree, in joyous vein, for all the notes we know we cannot reach.
Logan said, I built my home. Logan said, I built my home from people. I felt that. I felt that. Oh my God. Thank you. Baby simple emojis all around to that poem. And I want to end on that note because it's just like so wholesome. So that was our last poem of the night, guys. We really hope that you enjoyed our show. We really hope we gave you a nice array of emotions, just like 2020. Anyway, so yeah, that's the end of our show. We hope you liked it. And I just want to quickly plug, if you're interested in Word, please audition. Our auditions will be open up until September 18th. Again, please donate to the orgs in the description below and come to future events. This is not the end. We like to collab with other groups on campus, and we hope to do so again in this semester through Zoom University. So thank you guys so much for coming out and have a great evening. Bye.